Here is an SMC, or Shell Manufacturing Company, 6-inch fan. This is a 2-speed model. It has a dial control on the back, which is kind of confusing to me. It's labeled with alphanumerics, but the numbers don't seem to correspond to the letters. I would expect that high would be the number 2 and low would be number 1, because 2 is more than 1, but not according to this fan. So this fan is made in China, and it's model TF-6. .26 amps. It's just one of those C-frame shaded pole motors, so it's going to be horrifically inefficient. I don't see a date code on here, but these were a product of probably the late 90s, mid to late 90s. This is a really good fan. I like these a lot. I have 2 others. I have a fascination with SMC fans because I grew up with the TH-12. Was this the TH-6? No, this is the TF-6. I don't know what the difference is, but I grew up with the TH-12. That particular one right there, which my grandfather had for as long as I can remember. And I always liked that fan for whatever reason. So now we have this one. This got some hours on it. It's got quite a few hours on it. Now these don't move a whole ton of air, so for it to accumulate that much dust means this has really been running for quite some time. It's got like some kind of a sticky residue on the front, almost as if it had some kind of a sail sticker on it at some point before the stickers it has now. So maybe this has changed hands multiple times over the years. That's more of the size of what the Goodwill stickers used to be. These new ones are kind of a pain in the neck because they don't come off very easily. This one seems to be coming off okay for a moment. Let's see if the whole thing comes off. Years ago they used to put, now see, it's just left sticky residue everywhere. These don't come off. Years ago they used to put 3 stickers on. They were smaller, they usually come off easier, but sometimes they would leave that kind of residue. These new ones, these are awful. Oh, but it's scanned, it's got an RQ code, it's on the computer, it's digital. Give me a break. Anyways, these are good fans. I really like these. It's got a good tilt to it. Very powerful, very quiet. A lot of these were good back in the 90s. The Lasco ones are very good. They use these wide blades with a pretty deep pitch. It's a good design. Metal guard on the front, plastic guard on the back. The TH-12 has metal guard on both front and back. But a lot of these have the plastic guard on the back. The plug is polarized, but no fuse yet. Seems like the bearings are pretty free still. Let's go ahead and plug this in. Oops, we're not ready yet. 0. We have 120 volts right on the nose. That's kind of unusual. I guess because nothing's running right now other than a couple of street lights. That's actually really unusual. Of course, it just went up a little bit. There we go, 120 on the nose. The nose. Okay, let's go over to the amps. And we'll start this up on the low, or the 1. Wow, those bearings are rooted. Holy mackerel. That almost sounds like it's hitting the stator, if the rotor's hitting the stator. So that's 0.28 amps, it's already above what it claimed to draw. 20 the watts with a power factor of 0.6. That's actually better than I was expecting. And despite all that dust on there, it's still moving a considerable amount of air. Of course the noise, I don't know how you could possibly use this, but I can still feel air moving several feet away. Let's see what the high does. Oh, that was the high. This is the low. The low is 0.19 the amps, the 15 the watts with a power factor of the 0.64. Oh, this is just awful. It sounds like a stinking engine. But it is still moving some air. There's no point in running it like this. The balance is awful. Wow. That's something. It's really got a lot of hours on it. Just for the sake of curiosity, let's go ahead and open this up and see how much play there is to the bearings. I think it's going to be astronomical. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I'm not sure that's going to be able to be salvaged. That's got a lot of play. The only thing that you might be able to do is if we take the blade and just turn it like 180 degrees and stick it back on, that might cut down the noise a little bit, put wear on the other side of the shaft. That doesn't seem to make much difference in this case. Wow. I'm actually a little surprised it's that bad because the shaft is very large compared to what fans of this size usually come with. That's a pretty good sized shaft. But yeah, it's rooted bad. I don't know if you can see the movement on camera. The image stabilization might take it out, but yeah, it's gonna need a new motor. That's those bearings are spoiled. Well, it certainly did its time though. Wow. I can't imagine how many hours it has on there. I also can't imagine how somebody would have that sitting on their desk and just making all that racket. I can't fathom that. That would drive me nuts. It's actually not that bad out of balance. I mean, it definitely is, but it's not that crazy. I've definitely encountered much worse. Well, we'll see what we can do. If we put a really thick oil in there, which is not really advisable, but if we put a really thick oil in there, it might create enough of a surface on the shaft and on the bearings that would take away that noise, but most likely it would be a very short-term solution. So maybe we'll look into getting a replacement motor, quite possibly like a cheap bathroom exhaust fan motor or something like that might fit in there, and might be able to replace it with that. That's crazy. Very, very high hours, that's for sure. And since the guard wasn't on perfectly straight, I have suspicions it was probably even cleaned at one point, because I think that these likely shipped assembled. Oh, we'll see what we can do. It's not the worst I've worked on, but it's definitely out there.